Happy Sunday to you all. Welcome to Elland Road, where Norwich City have lost 2-1 to Leeds United and are basically done, I would say. Although we may have thought that they were basically done for a little while. But I think they are basically done now because they ain't going to finish above three other teams. I don't see there's any way that they can. And even Watford picked up a very useful win at Southampton today. So all in all, I think we're done. We can spend a lot of time dissecting that, obviously, as we go along. But in terms of this afternoon, have to say it did only strike me, obviously, that Norwich have had quite a tight turnaround and all that sort of stuff from the Chelsea game, but so did Leeds. They played on Thursday too, and any mitigation you want from that is kind of non-existent because it was a level playing field for both teams in that regard. I thought Norwich were pretty awful in the first half, and through no real point in the game did they really ever look like they were going to be able to do something noteworthy with the ball to score a goal. I mean, you have to say over the course of this season, they have been atrocious in front of goal as a team. Temu's goal involvements aren't actually too bad over the course of the season, but just in terms of a collective effort. And Leeds had lots of really good chances, ultimately. And over the course of the 90 minutes, the nervousness really only seemed to come from their supporters. I don't, and maybe it was well placed because Norwich did equalise, obviously, just in injury time. Leeds did have the lead in the first half, as I said, had quite a few goals, and there were quite a few contentious incidents in this game. So I'll take you through mine. The goal it was scored by Rodrigo. It came with a shot via a deflection, but the contentious part is that the initial ball forward was played towards Patrick Bamford, who was being picked up by Ben Gibson, and Ozan Kabak was there, and he headed it forward. Two Leeds players then basically beat two Norwich midfielders, I think, to run onto that second ball, and that was where the shot came and Leeds scored. So I saw that Bamford was quite clearly offside and just assumed the goal would get chalked off. Bamford didn't actually jump to challenge for the ball or really get anywhere near, so he was really attempting to play the ball. So then you're dealing with him being offside positionally rather than actually affecting the ball. And that's not really how the rule works. So we can sit here and say he was interfering with play because Ozan Kabak had to play the ball himself. He couldn't just let it run through and all those sort of things, which is right. That is why Ozan Kabak had to play it. But in terms of the offside rule, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I think has played out all season, because Bamford hasn't actually directly tried to play the ball, he's not offside. So you can have an argument about whether the rule is rubbish, but ultimately the goal stood. And to be honest, as soon as I saw that Bamford didn't actually go to play the ball, you kind of knew, oh, that's not offside. So, and I know a lot of you may not agree with that, but that's how I see it. And I think, to be honest, that's how the rules are written. So that's kind of that. I think it was before that, Luke Ayling went through on Milot Rashica. It was a yellow card. Stuart Atwell, the referee, had sort of warned one player. I think it was Forshaw. He'd warned him for a tackle rather than booking him. And then there was another one. Oh, no, there was Rodrigo that he did that with. And then Forshaw went in on Williams quite badly and didn't even get a talking to, never mind a yellow. So you were sitting there thinking, well, what's going to be a booking at this point? And it turns out that a studs high challenge on someone's upper Achilles was a yellow. VAR did have a quick look, but didn't get Stuart Atwell to look at it on the monitor, which I guess is because they felt it wasn't a red. But that's not the point, isn't it? Is it surely that if it's a bad challenge, which it was, you then say, look, you need to have a look at it. I mean, it's become a point that the show of the monitor is just a fait accompli. It's not can you go and make a decision on it, please? It's just like for show. I don't really understand why Luke Ayling wasn't sent off. I guess one of the reasons was that the challenge was deemed to have not made particularly bad contact with Rashica, but that's not the point. Everything about that challenge was a red card. It was studs high up on his shin calf. I think he went through the back of his calf. And to be fair, Milot played the rest of the game, but was pretty rubbish from that point on. And and he seemed to be feeling the after effects. Now, he might have just been doing that because it wasn't going very well for him or anyone else. But I don't really understand how he stayed on the pitch, to be honest. Ayling did then give away a penalty, which was then overturned because Stuart Atwell went and looked at it on the monitor. I don't think it is. You can't really give it as a penalty because ultimately Ayling's foot is on the ground and Rashica stands on it, which is what brings him down. All I will say is if you are in football boots and stood on a leg-sized branch, you would probably go down or turn your ankle. And if Ayling doesn't go to ground, his ankle's not there. So while I get that it's not necessarily a tackle that brought Rashica down, and it probably is no way he could give a penalty. I don't really blame Milot for going down. And also, if it was the other way round, there would be a bit of me saying you shouldn't be going down on the floor anyway. But there we go. Norwich then did get their equaliser through a lovely move, completely out of the blue, really, in terms of quality. Great diagonal from Ben Gibson. Tamer Puckie's first time cross is excellent, and Kenny McLean with a great late run slides it home. That's the first minute of injury time, second minute of injury time. You're thinking 1-1. This place, having felt a bit edgy, but the atmosphere was great in here all game, you're like, oh, wow, here we go. Well, no, I was more like, oh, gosh, that's a surprise. And then somehow on the counter, Ben Gibson doesn't win a head against Joe Gelhardt, who'd only just come on. He's not the tallest, but he lost that header, which I'm sure there's a reason for. Rafinha is then through, rounds Tim Krul, goes a bit wide, but crosses brilliantly, and Gelhardt can slot the ball home. And I don't know what that was, 5th, 6th minute of injury time. No, maybe earlier than that. Norwich are back 2-1 down, and funny because the draw wouldn't have been much use to anyone really. It wouldn't have done Norwich any particular good, and it would have been a poor result for Leeds. So they salvaged that. There was a bit of harem scarum then at the end. Tim Krul was up and playing in midfield for a bit, but Norwich didn't concede another one, and they didn't score either. Tamer Pukki did actually have a brilliant chance late on. I haven't seen it back. I think it was either straight at Messier, but yeah, it didn't go in, and that was that. But on the balance of play, Leeds had the better chances. John Rowe did hit the crossbar late on, but Rafinha hit the crossbar in the first half as well, the underside of it. Leeds had the better chances. And just on the whole balance of play, looking at that game and viewing it, I think I tweeted this, viewing it from the point that, this is a team Norwich are competing with to try and stay up. This was basically the third team Norwich could try and beat to drag in and finish above. They just weren't really close enough to them in quality to do that. And, Norwich are going to finish bottom, I would imagine, and they're going to get relegated, and they're going to have to deal with the fallout from all of that. I've already had tweets saying, do your job, do your journalism, get Delia to resign, which is a lovely sentiment. But I don't know how you make someone resign. And I'm sure I'll start getting asked to ask the tough questions, because that's what normally happens at this point, which generally means sort of shouting at people. But I get it. Trust me, I'm traveling everywhere. I know it's not at my expense, but I can feel it for those who are still bothering. And I think we might get to the point where people don't bother. And Norwich will have to deal with that. They're going to have to try and create some sort of feeling that there is progress to be had, because I remember speaking to Tim Krul quite a lot in his time at the club, and it's always been talking about how the club is progressing and developing. There are things that the club will want to do to show that, but on the pitch, it's been a massive regression this year, I think. They are not a better squad than they were 2 years ago. They haven't really been much more competitive, and if anything, they've been worse because they've had less mitigation for it. Because last time there was a massive pandemic and a suspension in football, and then it all just dropped off a cliff. They're not even at that level at that moment. They've got 17 points from 29 games. They've scored, I don't know how many goals, but I think it might be fewer than 17. I don't know. Dire. And that is that. I don't know what else to say, really. Lucas Rupp started, but the pace of the game, the pace Leeds played at was probably too much for him on his return. He wasn't the only one. I don't know if there's any other performances to pick out. I mean, Williams got beaten for the second goal, which is a shame, and a rare error from him. To say anyone did okay would be a sort of a nothing statement, really, in the context of everything. And That's that, really. I've got lots of work to do, and to get home. So I'm going to leave you all with that. There's no game for 3 weeks, so you're not going to get a video verdict for 3 weeks. But there is the 100th edition of the On the Ball podcast on Monday, which will be live. And I'm sure there'll be loads of other stuff on The Athletic and whatnot. I don't know if I've missed anything. I feel like I have, but forgive me if so. I'll see you all very soon. Take care of yourselves. We'll get rid of that. Post any comments and questions you wish. I'll make sure I read them all before I go. And in the meantime, look after each other. And have a lovely break between games. It's going to be a long end to the season, isn't it? See you later.